camera. I've been thinking about what you said, changing the narrative one picture at a time. What if we did more than just document your foundation's work? Her eyes shone with enthusiasm. What if we created a photo series showing the real lives of athletes' families? Not the glamour or the drama, but the authentic moments. The homework struggles, the family dinners, the ordinary joys and challenges. Humanizing the people behind the famous names, Jasmine mused. I like it, Madison nodded. And not just your family. I've already had inquiries from several photographers who want to leave the paparazzi world. They're tired of the ambushes, the invasions of privacy. With your platform, we could create a new model of respectful documentary photography. The ideas continued to flow as the day progressed. By evening, what had started as a simple stand against aggressive paparazzi had evolved into something much larger, a movement to reshape the relationship between public figures and media. As Jasmine prepared for her Good Morning America interview, scheduled for the following day, Kira burst into her office, face flushed with excitement. "You need to see this," she said, handing Jasmine her tablet. Victor Keller just gave an interview denying everything, claiming he's being framed. But look at the comments section. Jasmine scrolled through hundreds of responses, most calling out Keller's denial as transparent and false. But one comment made her breath catch. "I worked as Keller's executive assistant at Rival Air Holdings from 2020 to 2023. The targeted harassment campaign against athletes' families wasn't just about petty revenge. It was about something much bigger. Check the dates of the worst ambushes against the Jordan family. They all coincide with major business announcements from Jordan Brand. This wasn't just personal. It was economic sabotage." The comment was signed L. Martinez with contact information. "Have Diana verify this person's identity immediately," Jasmine instructed. "If they really worked for Keller, they could be our key witness." As Kira hurried off, Jasmine sat back in her chair, mind racing. What had seemed like personal harassment might actually be part of a larger scheme. A deliberate attempt to damage the Jordan brand itself by creating negative publicity around the family. The revelation wasn't just surprising, it was potentially game-changing for their case against Keller. And Jasmine had a feeling they were only scratching the surface of how deep this conspiracy might go. The next morning brought confirmation. Diana had verified L. Martinez's identity. Lucia Martinez had indeed worked as Victor Keller's executive assistant for 3 years. She was willing to meet with them and provide documentation. "She sounds scared," Diana reported after speaking, with Lucia by phone. "Says Keller made her sign extensive NDAs, but she feels morally obligated to come forward after seeing your story everywhere." The meeting was arranged for that afternoon at the law firm's offices, neutral ground with proper security. Before heading there, Jasmine kept her scheduled appearance on Good Morning America, speaking eloquently about media ethics and her foundation's work. "This isn't just about my experience," she told the interviewer. "It's about changing a system that treats public figures and their families as commodities rather than people." The response was immediate. Social media erupted with support. The hashtag #RespectNotIntrude trending higher than ever. By the time Jasmine arrived at the law firm, her phone was overwhelmed with notifications. Lucia Martinez was already waiting in the conference room, a composed woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and the careful manner of someone accustomed to handling sensitive information. "Thank you for meeting with us," Jasmine said, taking a seat across from her. Michael, Jeffrey, Diana, and Tyler Williams were also present. Lucia nodded. "After watching your interview this morning, I knew I had to come forward." She opened her laptop. "What I'm about to show you violates my NDA, but I believe it's evidence of illegal activity that's not protected." She pulled up a folder of documents. Keller's vendetta against your family wasn't just personal. It was strategic. After his shoe company failed, he created a new business model, what he called reputation management, but was really reputation. Sabotage. The documents she shared painted a disturbing picture. Keller had established Rival Air Holdings as a shell company for multiple ventures, including the Celebrity Dispatch app and a network of gossip websites. But his true business was manipulating public perception of celebrities and brands, sometimes building them up, but more often tearing them down on behalf of paying clients. The Jordan family was his prime target, Lucia explained. He tracked every major Jordan brand product launch, every business venture. Then he would deploy photographers through the app to create negative press around the same time, hoping to associate the Jordan name with drama rather than success. Michael leaned forward, examining a spreadsheet that correlated paparazzi ambushes with Jordan brand release dates. His expression darkened. This explains a lot. The ambush before the Jordan 35 launch. The tabloid stories when we announced the AE NASCAR team. Exactly, Lucia confirmed. But here's where it gets worse. She pulled up emails between Keller and various business contacts. He wasn't just doing this out of personal revenge. He was being paid by competitors. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just one bitter man's vendetta. It was industrial espionage, with the Jordan family caught in the crossfire. Some of these competitor names are redacted in the documents, Diana observed. Do you know who they were? Lucia hesitated. I only know code names. But based on the timing and product categories, I believe at least one was a major sportswear competitor. Another was possibly an energy drink company that saw Michael's Gatorade partnership as a threat. Tyler examined the technical data in the files. This matches what I saw in the app's back end. The targeting algorithms were sophisticated, designed to maximize emotional distress and public embarrassment. Jeffrey, who had been quietly processing the information, suddenly straightened. Wait, there's a pattern to the family targeting too. The worst ambushes happened before my sports agency signed new clients, or when Jasmine announced foundation initiatives. Because you're both extending the Jordan legacy beyond your father, Lucia explained. Keller wanted to undermine the entire family brand, not just Michael's personal reputation. Jasmine felt a cold anger unlike anything she'd experienced before. This wasn't just invasion of privacy, it was a calculated attack on her family's life's work, including her foundation, that helped thousands of kids. We need to take this to the FBI, Diana said firmly. This crosses into federal territory. Interstate commerce, possible wire fraud, conspiracy. Michael nodded. Make the call. As Diana stepped out to contact federal authorities, Jasmine turned to Lucia. Thank you for your courage. Coming forward couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, Lucia admitted. But watching you stand up to those photographers, it reminded me that sometimes doing the right thing requires being brave. She closed her laptop. I have more files secured in multiple locations. If anything happens to me, my attorney has instructions to release everything. We'll make sure you're protected, Michael assured her. The meeting concluded with plans for Lucia to meet with federal investigators the following day. As the group dispersed, Jasmine found herself standing beside her father in the law firm's lobby. I never thought it would lead to this, she said quietly. Corporate espionage, federal investigations. I just wanted the paparazzi to back off that night. Michael smiled, not his famous camera-ready smile, but the gentler one reserved for family. That's how change happens, Jazzy. One person reaches their breaking point and says, enough. Then others find their courage too. He put his arm around her shoulders, as they walked toward the exit. Tomorrow's press conference is more important than ever now. Not just about paparazzi ethics, about exposing the whole system. Jasmine nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Do you think he'll be there, Keller? I hope so, Michael said, that competitive gleam returning to his eyes. I've been waiting 20 years to face him directly. As they stepped outside, several photographers waited on the sidewalk, but this time they maintained a respectful distance, calling out polite questions rather than provocations. One of them, a veteran photojournalist Jasmine recognized from legitimate media events, approached with his camera pointed at the ground in a gesture of respect. Ms. Jordan, we've started a professional organization for ethical celebrity photography, he said. Many of us wanted you to know we support what you're doing. We're implementing a code of conduct that respects boundaries. Jasmine thanked him, amazed at how quickly the ripples of change were spreading. What had begun as one woman standing up for herself in the rain had become a movement for accountability and respect that was reaching farther than she could have imagined. The final piece of the puzzle was falling into place. Tomorrow's press conference would bring everything to light: the harassment, the business conspiracy, the call for systemic change. And Jasmine would be ready. The Dream Hire Foundation's downtown headquarters buzzed with activity the next morning. Staff set up chairs in the large conference room, tested microphones, and arranged lighting for the cameras. This wasn't just any press conference. It was a watershed moment that would change the conversation around celebrity privacy and media ethics. Jasmine stood by the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. In just 3 days, her life had transformed from a private philanthropist occasionally caught in her father's spotlight to a public advocate leading a movement. She fingered the silver basketball charm bracelet her mother had sent, drawing strength from its connection to family history. "Nervous?" Madison asked, approaching with her camera slung around her neck. "A little," Jasmine admitted, "but mostly determined." Madison showed her some photos on her camera's display. Images from yesterday's community center visit that captured genuine joy and connection. This is what we're fighting for. The right to do good work without harassment. The freedom to be seen for who you really are, not who others want you to be. Kira appeared, tablet in hand. "We're getting media requests from around the world." Eleanor Woodward's article just dropped in the Washington Post. It's already being shared everywhere. She handed the tablet to Jasmine. "And you might want to see this." The headline read, "Exclusive: Sportswear Giant Under Investigation for Alleged Corporate Espionage Against Jordan Brand." The story cited anonymous sources claiming federal authorities had opened an investigation into one of Michael Jordan's longtime business competitors. While no company was named directly, the timing made the connection clear. "The dominoes are falling," Jasmine murmured. Her father and brother arrived shortly after, both dressed in sharp suits. Michael in his signature tailored style that had influenced men's fashion for decades. Jeffrey in a modern cut that reflected his own distinct taste. "Ready for this?" Michael asked his daughter. Jasmine nodded. "I've been preparing my whole life. I just didn't know it." The legal team joined them for a final briefing. Diana confirmed that federal investigators had moved quickly, securing warrants based on Lucia Martinez's evidence. "Victor Keller was taken in for questioning this morning," she informed them, "but he's already been released on his own recognizance. His lawyer claims he has evidence that will exonerate him." "Will he show up here?" Jeffrey asked. Diana shrugged. "Hard to say. His lawyer advised against it, but Keller has a history of unpredictable behavior." As the room filled with journalists, photographers, and industry representatives, Jasmine felt a calm settle over her. This moment wasn't about anger or vindication. It was about changing a broken system. Madison touched her arm. "Look who's here!" Near the back of the room stood several young adults Jasmine recognized immediately, the children of other famous athletes who had been targeted by Keller's scheme. They nodded respectfully to her, a silent show of solidarity. At precisely noon, Jasmine took her place at the podium, flanked by her father and brother. Cameras flashed, but with a different energy than the ambush days earlier. Professional, respectful, appropriate. "Thank you all for coming," she began. 3 days ago, I was confronted by paparazzi outside a restaurant after launching my foundation's new initiative. What happened next sparked a conversation about privacy, dignity, and the relationship between public figures and media. She spoke clearly and confidently, outlining what they had discovered about Victor Keller's coordinated harassment campaign and the corporate espionage investigation now underway. This went beyond invasive photography, Jasmine explained. It was a deliberate attempt to damage not just reputations, but businesses and charitable work through manufactured drama. Michael stepped forward to speak about the history with Keller, his deep voice commanding the room's attention. This man's bitterness over business failure turned into a 2-decade vendetta that expanded to target my children, who had nothing to do with our original dispute. Jeffrey spoke next, announcing that a coalition of athletes' families was establishing a legal defense fund for those targeted by similar harassment. As Jasmine returned to the microphone to discuss the Foundation's expanded media literacy initiative, a commotion at the back of the room caught everyone's attention. Victor Keller himself had arrived. He was smaller than Jasmine had imagined, a thin man in his 60s, with expensive clothes and a face lined with years of bitterness. He stood in the doorway, flanked by a nervous-looking lawyer who was clearly trying to convince him to leave. The room fell silent. Security personnel moved toward Keller, but Jasmine raised her hand to stop them. "Mr. Keller," she said calmly, "would you like to address the room?" Her father tensed beside her, but she gave him a reassuring glance. This was her moment to handle. Keller seemed startled by the invitation. After a moment's hesitation, he walked forward, his lawyer trailing, anxiously behind. "You think you've won," Keller said, his voice surprisingly soft for a man who had orchestrated so much harassment. "You Jordans always think you win." "This isn't about winning," Jasmine replied. "It's about doing what's right." Something in her tone, its sincerity, its lack of anger, seemed to catch Keller off guard. He looked around at the room full of journalists, documenting his every expression, at the young photographer whose Instagram post had helped expose him, at the athletes' children standing in solidarity. "You've spent 20 years trying to hurt my family because of a failed business venture," Jasmine continued. "But look what that bitterness has cost you. Was it worth it?" For a moment, something flickered across Keller's face. Perhaps the first glimmer of reflection after decades of resentment. He opened his mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. Instead of responding to Jasmine, he turned and walked out, ignoring reporters' questions as he pushed through the door. The room erupted with activity. Journalists calling out questions, photographers capturing the moment, social media alerts pinging on dozens of phones as news of the confrontation spread instantly. Jasmine felt her father's hand on her shoulder, that familiar, supportive touch that had steadied her throughout life. "That," Michael said quietly, pride evident in his voice, "was a perfect Jordan move." Giving him the chance to make things right and letting his own choice speak for itself. As the press conference concluded, Jasmine was surrounded by well-wishers. Fellow athletes' children thanking her for taking a stand, journalists requesting interviews for legitimate publications, advocates for privacy reform seeking partnerships. But it was Madison who captured the most meaningful moment, a photograph of Jasmine embracing her father, both their faces reflecting a complex mix of emotions: relief, pride, determination, and love. Not posed for cameras or crafted for public consumption, but a genuine moment between father and daughter who had faced a challenge together and emerged stronger. "Full circle," Madison said, showing Jasmine the image. "From being ambushed by cameras to using them to tell your true story." Jasmine smiled, feeling a sense of completion. What had begun as a breaking point in the rain had become a turning point for many. A reminder that sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up for something much larger. And as Michael Jordan had taught her long ago, pressure is a privilege, a chance to show what you're really made of when it matters most. I hope you enjoyed this emotional journey of Michael Jordan's daughter finding her voice and making a difference that goes far beyond a single confrontation with Paparazzi. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know which part of the world this story has reached. If you enjoyed this story about courage, family bonds, and standing up for what's right, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything and helps us continue creating meaningful content like this. Don't forget to share this video with friends and family who might appreciate Jasmine's journey. By spreading stories of dignity and strength in the face of harassment, we can all contribute to greater kindness and awareness in our communities. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week with another powerful story that touches the heart and inspires the mind. Until then, remember that sometimes our greatest moments come when we finally stand in our own light.